I am in Rarepair hell, and I love it. I'm sure everyone who is a part of a fandom is familiar with the concept of shipping, the act of pairing two or more characters together in a relationship, usually in a romantic way. Shipping can be one of the best or one of the worst things about fandom, depending on how you go about it. Personally, I love shipping. Seeing or thinking about how the dynamic between characters could possibly lead into something more just fills me with glee. Now, I know shipping isn't all sunshine and rainbows, especially with things like ship wars, harassment, and the whole entire anti-ship versus pro-ship discourse, but I kindly ask that you not bring any of that up in the comments. I want this to be a more positive video on shipping, and not how shipping has ruined fandom or something like that. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. So, what is a Rarepair? According to the fanlore wiki, a Rarepair is a term for a pairing or a ship that is rare in the fandom. It is not featured in many fan works and only makes up a small proportion overall. A Rarepair may be canon, but it is often not. The best way I can describe a Rarepair as a metaphor is to imagine your favorite popular ship as a buffet. You have endless hours of content, from fan art, fan edits, fanfiction, basically anything that you can think of that a fandom would make. The table is completely full of this food or content, all centered around your favorite popular pairing. Now imagine your favorite Rarepair if you have one. Content is scarce, and more often than not, you really have to dig deep into the internet to find anything of this pairing. Instead of this large buffet, you only have a singular plate with a few crumbs on it, the crumbs representing the content. However, just like the popular pairing, these crumbs make you happy, even if other people may not understand it. Now, Rarepairs do have some overlap with crossover ships and crack ships due to the probability of the ship becoming canon being relatively low. But the most important thing about a Rarepair is that in the fandom, that ship is, well, rare. There have been popular crossover ships and crack ships over the years, like the Jelsa ship or the Rodrina ship, but because of their popularity status, I don't consider something like that to be a Rarepair. Now, there is some debate into what exactly counts as a Rarepair in fandom, but personally for me, if a pairing's content makes up less than or about 1% of a fandom, then I consider it to be a Rarepair. Now, can some popular ships turn into Rarepairs over time? Personally, I don't think so, mainly because that vast amount of content still mostly exists out in the fandom, and there will still be a lot of people who ship said pairing, even if it's not as popular as before. I could be wrong about this statement, however, so please take what I say with a grain of salt. Now, I know a lot of people prefer pairings that have a lot more content to them, either from the fandom itself or because the canon material itself features a lot of scenes with these characters together, for example. And I've had pairings like these that I do enjoy, but I don't think anything can match the overall giddy delight I get when I see content in my favorite Rarepair. It feels like I've struck gold compared to the popular pairing, where content of them just feels like the norm in the fandom. This isn't to harp on anyone's fun in shipping something that is more popular in a fandom, but I don't think my favorite more popular pairings have ever filled me with as much delight as my favorite Rarepair. There are some downsides to having a Rarepair in a fandom, from other fans criticizing your ship for not making any sense, or telling you that the ship has no chance of becoming canon, which, why exactly would a ship's probability of becoming canon determine whether or not you like it? Does my Rarepair have a chance of becoming canon? Absolutely not. But you know what? I don't care. That's what my imagination is for. Plus, fanfiction exists. If I want to rewrite a storyline for these characters to be together in a relationship, I can. But obviously the biggest downside of having a Rarepair is the lack of content in the fandom. Sometimes it can make you feel kind of lonely being in a fandom and liking a Rarepair when everybody else is more focused on the more popular pairing, especially if those characters in the Rarepair have other more popular ships themselves. It's always annoying whenever you have the Rarepair that you enjoy and then people in the comments will say something like, "Oh, I prefer insert popular pairing here," because like, I never asked. That's fine if you like that pairing, but if you're just saying it to try and bring down other people's ships, then I personally don't want to associate with you. So if there are all these downsides to Rarepairs, then why do I like them so much? Well, simply because I feel like having a Rarepair forces you to really use your imagination on the pairing. As someone who considers himself to be a creative person and who also has a big imagination, I really enjoy the freedom that you have with a Rarepair. Since there is so little content of them, you can be as liberated as you want with a ship without having to feel like you're stepping too far from canon or something like that. Now, personally, in order for me to like the Rarepair, I have to like both or more of the characters in said hypothetical relationship. This can apply for any ship, but I feel like if you have a deep love for both or more of these characters and have an idea for how their dynamic would work, they have a good foundation for a ship. Also, ships solely based on aesthetics are fun too. And you can create as much content for them as you like, even if it feels like you're the only one who ships them, which is often what people have to do for their Rarepair. make their own content. This can be a major downside to Rapairs, as sometimes people feel like they don't have the creativity or free time to engage in a pairing that they may feel like is obviously going to get attacked. And it's completely fine to enjoy a ship without making any content for it. I'm sure a lot of people do that. But with Rapairs, in order to see said content, it feels like you have to make it yourself, which some people aren't willing to do, and that's completely okay. Everybody has their own way of going about shipping, and as long as you aren't doing something like sending death threats to people for not liking your ship, feel free to engage with the pairing as little or as much as you like. Now, you may be wondering, what is this Rarepair that you've become so obsessed with? Why are you in Rarepair hell? Before I get into it, I just want to make it very clear that I am not trying to force anyone to like the same ships I do. It's completely fine if this ship isn't for you. Just please be civil in the comments if you have anything to say about it. Anyway, I want to talk about WolfCase. WolfCase is the fanon pairing between the characters Dr. Crankcase and Wolfgang from the Skylanders franchise. According to my research of looking at fanfiction on AO3, Wattpad, and fanfiction.net, out of all 135,226 fanfics written for Skylanders, only 5 of them have anything to do with WolfCase, and 2 of those fics also feature other things like ex-reader ships or situations where the 2 characters are in relationships with other characters. And a third of those fics is a one-sided relationship between the characters. To put it in perspective, at least for the fanfiction side of things, WolfCase takes up about 0.004% of all Skylanders fanfic. I unfortunately can't go through and count out every single piece of fan art or fan videos made for Skylanders over the years, because I would have to go through countless social media sites to find anything, but I think counting out the fanfiction is a good representation to show how rare a ship is. Obviously, the characters of Dr. Crankcase and Wolfgang do have more popular pairings to their names, such as Wolfgang x Golden Queen and Dr. Crankcase x Mags, and hypothetically, I do see the appeal of both of these pairings. Dr. Crankcase and Mags did both go to the same inventor school in canon, and people imagining a relationship between these 2 characters just seemed like the logical thing to do. While Golden Queen and Wolfgang have this leadership rivalry going on between them, and despite the circumstances, in the Skylanders Academy series on Netflix, the 2 did canonically go out on a date together. Now, despite me seeing the appeal in both of these relationships, I personally don't ship them myself, mainly due to things of me not liking the dynamic between characters or my own personal headcanons. It is completely fine if you like these 2 pairings, by the way. I just wanted to make that clear. So if there are more popular pairings out there, why did you latch onto this Rarepair? Well, I think it mainly has to do with the way my brain is. I'm autistic and tend to become incredibly interested in the most random things. And I also don't tend to be interested in things that are a bit more popular in fandom, mostly because it just doesn't interest me. I can't force myself to like a pairing. I usually have to start shipping it myself on my own time before I can possibly engage in any other fan content. So, how did I become a fan of WolfCase? Well, I started shipping WolfCase back in October 2025, whenever I spent one night thinking about the dynamics between all the Doom Raiders, and how I felt like none of the Doom Raiders, aside from Golden Queen and Wolfgang, really interacted with each other all that much. Or so I thought. Because then I started thinking more about Wolfgang and Dr. Crankcase's interactions with each other, and a part of me thought that maybe the 2 characters had something more going on. Little did I know that small thought would lead me into the landslide I'm in today. That just led me into thinking even more about how I always see these 2 characters standing next to each other and why that possibly could be. Basically, the entire reason why I started shipping them was because I got obsessed about thinking about these 2's reactions with each other and how exactly their relationship is, since we never really got to see very much of it in canon. And seeing more content of the 2 of them in canon just fuels a fire from me in that pairing. But why do you like the pairing? Well, personally, I like how flexible I can be with the characters. Since this is not a canon ship, the interpretation with the characters are endless. Whether or not these 2 are dealing with feelings for the other, it's a one-sided crush, the 2 already being together, or these 2 going through a messy breakup, I'm basically obsessed with any sort of interpretation of WolfCase. My personal headcanon is that the 2 got together before the events of Trap Team, and then broke up after Dr. Crankcase's boss battle, but possibly got back together after their rehabilitation in Imaginators. Now, obviously, since Skylanders Trap Team, the game where Dr. Crankcase and Wolfgang first appeared in, is over 10 years old, it is possible that the ship did exist during that time, but I unfortunately haven't been able to find any content of WolfCase during the 2010s. In fact, the oldest piece of WolfCase fan content I could find on the internet was a TikTok post made in 2021, and you would not believe the overall joy I felt when I found that post. Aside from me, I've only found at least one other person in the Skylanders fandom who also ships WolfCase as much as I do. And you know what? I think we're having a blast enjoying this pairing. It feels like we're in our own little personal clubhouse where we can just hyperfixate on WolfCase without having people trying to ruin our fun. I've made different pieces of fan art, I've made my own little personal zine, a bracelet, a giant WolfCase sticker I stuck on my cabinet. Out of all 5 of those fanfics, I actually wrote one of them myself, and then I printed and bound that fanfic together into a physical copy. I made a small shrine in my room dedicated to this ship. Hell, I'm even making a fan page for them on my website on NeoCities. This pairing is gold to me, and I love it. But if the pairing is so rare, then why are you wasting your time investing in it, some of you may be wondering? Well, simply because it makes me happy. It makes me happy to create content of this rare pair, it makes me happy whenever I see other people make content of this rare pair, and it makes me happy whenever I even think about this rare pair. And honestly, I don't care if this pairing doesn't ever become popular. More often than not, whenever I do see a popular pairing, there is a more likely chance of that ship becoming the center of discourse due to it attracting more and more people. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think I really want that to happen to a ship that's so near and dear to my heart. Because of the quietness that rare pairs often have in fandom, having a rare pair can feel pretty peaceful at times. This is obviously an unpopular opinion that I have, since I feel like most people do want their rare pairs to get more of a chance in the spotlight for more content. I guess I'm also just afraid of that ship getting burned, if that makes any sense. And I am happy for the people who did have a rare pair that eventually made it out of its hole and into the spotlight. I can only imagine the amount of glee some rare pair shippers felt when this happened. I guess my conclusion to this video is that no matter whether or not your pairing is popular, it's always important to have fun with your ship. Even if it feels like no one else ships it, go ahead and make that fan art, write that fanfiction, do whatever you want to have fun with your pairing. Because that's what shipping is supposed to be. Fun. So, do you have a favorite rare pair? Has there ever been an incident where your rare pair became more popular, and how did you feel about it? You can let me know in the comments below. Anyway, I'm going to get back to enjoying my ship. Thanks for taking the time to watch my video. Bye! Also, I think everyone should learn how to code and create their own website for their favorite ship.